Brahmanda Purana, Part 4, Lalita Mahatmya, Chapter 17. The March of the Army of Syamala. The footnote says it is not understood why our text has more than two separate chapters for describing the march of Lalita's army. The text N in 111th chapter has described the march of the total army in 108 verses. Hayagriva said, "At the time when Dandanatha set out, the sky shone as though adorned with innumerable moons due to the numerous umbrellas of white lustre. The darkness that gathered together densely under the white umbrellas, rubbing and clashing against one another, became dispelled by the lustre of jewels fitted to their handles. In the army of Krodhamukhi, boar-faced Shakti, 100 varieties of talavrantas, fans made of palm leaves, proceeded ahead, enveloping the faces of quarters by means of the blazing lustre of diamonds set in the fans. The dreadful Bhairavas, such as Chanda, Danda, and others, proceeded ahead, running in the vanguard of the army of Dandanatha. They had tridents in their hands. Their tawny-colored matted hair rendered the quarters brightly illuminated as though by means of lightning. By the fiery flames of their arrows they wished to burn the hosts of Daityas. Many soldiers with the faces of boars proceeded ahead. They had the same size, shape, and ornaments as the goddess Potrimukhi, boar-faced. In their hands they had the same weapons as those of hers. Their vehicles too were the same. From their sharp carved teeth smoke and flames of fire issued forth, covering up the whole of the sky. They were dark in complexion like the tamala tree, Xanthochimus pictorius. They were tawny colored and had eyes of ruthless features. They rode on thousands of buffaloes. After getting down from the excellent chariot drawn by a group of elephants, Sri Dandanatha Dandanaika mounted a great lion, her own vehicle, well known by the name Vajraghosha. It shook the thick cluster of its manes. It kept its mouth wide open. It had hideous features and large eyes. The quarters were deafened by means of harsh sound produced by the gnashing of its carved teeth. It appeared to grind the terrestrial sphere by means of its claws, which were as hard as skulls, and the outer shell of the primordial tortoise, and which sank down as far as the Patala. It was 3 yojanas in height. It shook its tail to and fro with great rapidity. Dandanaika mounted this leonine vehicle and marched ahead. As she betook herself to the task of slaying the Asuras with blazing fire of fury, the three worlds, including the mobile and immobile beings, experienced excessive excitement and alarm. Frightened in their hearts, all the groups of heaven dwellers in the firmament thought thus: will this Potrini, boar-faced deity, burn down now itself the entire universe by means of her fiery anger? Will she split the earth into two by striking it with her club? Or will she agitate and stir up the oceans by means of her weapon plough? They fled far off hurriedly and in great fear and saw the goddess. With their palms joined in reverence, the Devas made obeisance to her by repeating the 12 names and glorifying her in the firmament. Agastya said, O holy Lord Hayagriva of excessive intelligence, what are the 12 names of that deity? Tell me, I am extremely eager to hear them. Hayagriva said, Listen to the 12 names of that goddess, O pot-born sage, on hearing which she will become pleased. They are Panchami, Dandanatha, Sanketa, Samayeshwari, Samayashanketa, Varahi, Potrini, Vartali, Mahasena, Ajna, Chakreshwari, and Arigni. These are the 12 names mentioned by me, O sage. If a man stays within the adamantine cage of 12 names, he will never meet with misery in difficult situations. By means of these names, Devas stationed in the firmament eulogized Sanketa many times. For the purpose of blessing them, she moved ahead once again. Then the sounds of trumpets were heard in the firmament, indicating the starting of Sanketa Yogini, who touched the feet of Mantranatha. Then marched out the army of Shaktis, who mostly had the ornaments expressive of the sentiment of love, who were of dark complexion like tigresses, and who held venas in their hands. Some began to dance and sing with the sweet notes of excited cuckoo. Some played on some played on musical instruments such as lutes, flutes, and drums. Their paces were regular and graceful. The dark complexioned Shaktis moved ahead, delighting the people of the entire universe. Some rode on peacocks, a few had swans as their vehicles. Some rode on mongooses, a few seated themselves on cuckoos. Some were stationed in covered palanquins. All of them were of dark complexioned features. Some rode on horses, some were intoxicated by honey from kadamba, curcuma aromatica flowers. Keeping Mantranatha as the head, they moved ahead. Mantranaika of dark complexion, like the cloud, passed through these and other Shaktis. She was seated in a great chariot fitted with lofty flagstaffs. Her armor had the color of the rising sun. Pride and pride and inebriation had made her eyes roving. Small drops of sweet small drops of sweat had made her lotus-like face charming. Her eyebrows appeared to dance gracefully as she repeatedly glanced at the entire army of Shaktis that was excessively elated and haughty. A triangular umbrella made of peacock feathers rose high above her, proclaiming her importance. Among them, other Shaktis did not have any scope of rising up glittering and refulgent. The heaven dwellers eulogized her by means of 16 names. O pot-born sage, listen to those 16 names. Sangeeta Yogini, Syamala, Mantranayika, Mantrini, Sachiveshi, Pradhaneshi, Sukapriya, Vinavati, Vainiki, Mudrini, Priya Kapriya, Priya Kapriya, Nipapriya, Kadambeshi, Kadambavanavasini, and Sadamada. These are the 16 names. O pot-born sage, if any embodied person eulogizes Sachiveshani even for once by means of these names, the entire unit of the three worlds will undoubtedly stay in his control. Wherever Mantrinatha casts her glance, the army of enemies will readily and undoubtedly fall down there. As long as there is the discourse on the kingdom of Lalita Parameshani and on the Shaktis as well, that will be the bestower of victory everywhere. From the young parrot from the young parrot held in the hand of Sangita Yogini, Dhanurveda, science of archery, issued forth holding up a bow kept in readiness. The hero possessed 4 arms, 3 heads, and 3 eyes. He devoutly bowed down to Pradhaneshi and spoke thus: O goddess Mantri Naika, you are preparing for the fight with Bhanda, the leader of the Asuras, hence I should render all assistance to you. O mother of all worlds, this great bow is known by the name of Chitrajiva. It is competent to exterminate all Danavas. Accept it. Here are 2 quivers with everlasting supply of arrows. They are wonderfully embellished with gold. Accept them for the purpose of destroying Daityas as well as for blessing me. After saying this, Dhanurveda devoutly bent down his head and handed over the bow and quivers, which Priya accepted. Taking up the great bow, Chitrajiva, the great goddess, Sukapriya played on the string repeatedly and produced a twanging sound. The universe was filled with the twanging sound of the bow of Sangeeta Yogini, along with the fulfillment of mental and visual delight of the heaven dwellers. She had 2 attendants named Yantrini and Tantrini, holding the parrot and the lute. They attended upon her instantaneously. Holding the exceedingly charming bow, Ghanoshyama, the deity of cloud-like dark complexion, produced the twangling sound on its string, increasing its loudness with the tinkling sound of her bangles moving to and fro. Gita Yogini, embellished with the bow, Chitrajiva, shone like a row of clouds with the cluster of Kadamba flowers for umbrella and bow. An arrow shone in her right hand. It was as sharp as the piercing glance of Kali. It was as dreadful as a dancing serpent. When the goddess seated herself in the chariot with wheels worthy of being sung about, A number of other deities served her from behind. Those goddesses too had dark splendor like her. They held arrows and bows. Their number ran up to 1,000 Akshohinis. They had great velocity, but were languid with intoxication. With their rumbling and rustling sound, they filled all quarters.